Today is the day that I finally do a colored pencil illustration. I've been wanting to do one my entire life, and I finally think I figured it out. So hi everyone, I'm Ward, and welcome to my channel Wardrawsalot, and this week we're finally going to try out this medium that I've been wanting to tackle for a very long time. From what I've gathered, these are the three main ingredients that we need here, right? The three main supplies. First one is the Strathmore Toned Tan Mixed Media, okay? Some people use toned gray, regardless, both are good. It's so the color pencils show up as good as possible on the paper. Next is the Prismacolor Premier Colored Pencils. I do have Crayolas, but I didn't want to use those for an official first color pencil drawing. And I do have the Derwents, but I also didn't want to use that in case I messed everything up and ruined the drawing and wasted really expensive colored pencils. So I thought the Prismacolors were a good medium in between both of those options, and also are really good in general, so why not use them? The last but one of the most important pieces is the tortillons or blending stumps. These are what's going to make the colored pencils look super smooth and blended out on the paper, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. So these are the tortillons. When I was younger, I would use these to blend out charcoal drawings or pencil drawings, but I didn't connect that you could also blend them out with colored pencil drawings until very recently. They come in a large range of sizes, so you could either use it for a big portion of the drawing or blend out some small details, and you can also clean them up by just sanding them down. Now it's time we test out the method here. So I'm going to pull out three color pencils. So they're mostly in the same color family, which is purple/violet, and I'm going to be blending them together to see if I can make a nice smooth transition. So we're going to build up the pigment between light, medium, and dark, at least enough to where it can transition nicely in between and have a nice build-up. Obviously, the tortillon can only do so much. We have to put a good amount of pigment on the paper for it to actually show some kind of promise, right? After I put down the pigment, I went in with the tortillon, which I didn't realize was dirty, so I just kind of rebuilt the pigment around there and decided to blend it out, and it did definitely look way smoother after I did that. After the first trial, I was already feeling way too confident, so I went in with three different colors and tried to blend them out. Now, realistically, with any medium, if you're using three vastly different colors, it's not going to blend as well as if you were to use three colors that are closer to each other. My blending stump was a little dirty, so I took out my sander and went ahead and sanded that down, so this way it would be clean when I go into the next set of colors. The next set is a bunch of greens, which again is light, medium, and dark, and I went in back and forth building up that pigment at least 2 or 3 times and using the blending stump to help kind of transition it very nicely in between. But truly the best part of the blending stump is even after you've blended it and kind of made a smooth transition, you can go back on top again with your color pencils and continue on that transitioning and build up more and more, which makes it even smoother in the long run. So off camera I also did a little more practice, a few more times just to make sure I got it, and at this point I think I was feeling confident enough to go in and actually start the drawing. Just to start and make sure that I've got the hang of it, I started off with the forehead, so this way everything kind of feels like I have some kind of control when I'm doing color pencils. On the bright side, color pencils is a drying medium, so it's not like I have to work around its drying time like I would with paint or markers, something that you would have to work against time with. At least when it comes to something like blending, this is the only benefit that I could truly see from color pencils, is that I can come back in 10 years onto this drawing and be like, oh, I want to change this, and I can because it's color pencils, and if I haven't set it with anything, then it's definitely still a workable medium. Another real benefit of color pencils in general is that they are significantly cheaper than if I were to get an entire marker set. Granted, this depends on the brand, so not every marker and color pencil are, significantly different in price. Some of the more expensive color pencils are going to run you some money, definitely, but I feel like overall, if you wanted to get singular color pencils, let's say you run out of a few, you can go get them for maybe $2 or something like that, depending on the brand, again. So it's much easier to replace the things that have already been used up in comparison to a lot of marker packs, unless they're more expensive marker brands, which is really convenient and overall just really nice for anybody who are using color pencils. Another thing that I really like about color pencils that I can't get with markers at all is the texture. There's something about the texture of a color pencil that just looks so soft and beautiful that I love using them. Granted, I've used them only a few times in my life, but like, it was never an actual illustration, and they were never with like better quality colored pencils. On top of that, I never really had a good technique, and it just kind of looked like I pressed really hard down on the paper, which I did, and didn't really know how to blend them back and forth. So that was a really long time ago on top of all that. So all those added together, the conglomerate of I didn't know how to use them, basically. But of course now, over time, with research and figuring out and finding out all this stuff, I finally feel comfortable actually using them and putting them towards a solid illustration. But even after all of this, the most satisfying part for me was just the fact that I think I made younger Ward proud. When I was younger, I really, and I really do mean really, wanted to use color pencils like the way artists do. And it was mostly because I didn't know how to even start something like this. I wouldn't even know how to start coloring something like this. And the sole purpose is because we didn't really have a lot of online access to people who would give tutorials or a bunch of different people with experiences. When I was younger, the internet was still relatively getting somewhere, right? Especially like YouTube was born in like I think 2007 on its own. So it took so long for YouTube to get to the way it is now, and for me to eventually learn something like this truly only happened within the last few years on its own. So now I can tell myself that we finally did it. We did a color pencil illustration, and my younger self would be so happy to think that I could even do something like this. Granted, color pencils are cool. They would never replace my markers because I love my markers way too much, but honestly, it was just so satisfying that I told myself that I could do it, and I did. So I'm really happy regardless with this outcome. Okay, now, besides all this heartfelt stuff, right, let's go back to the task at hand here, right? What I realized very quickly was that the pencils must be sharpened to a T. They have to be super sharp. And it makes sense because pencils, once they hit the paper, are going into the grooves of the paper. So it's going to be filling out those little holes that you see that are kind of being colored on top of. That's why when you sharpen the pencil and it's pointy enough, it fills up those little white holes and spaces in between all of these layers. That's why the best thing to do is to layer back and forth when it comes to color pencils, and not just go fucking ham on the paper with a color pencil until it's like, you know, completely flattened out and burnished. You're supposed to kind of go back and forth until everything is kind of smoothed out. Granted, did I still go hard on the paper sometimes? Yes, of course. It's me, I'm impatient. That's why I chose markers as my medium. This took like a while. You guys are seeing this sped up and it's like 12 minutes and it's like, hee hee, 12-minute video. For me, it was like forever. I think this drawing took me like 4 hours probably, which makes sense because again, it's a lot of layering back and forth and a lot of going back and forth with the blending stump and then making sure I'm happy with the way it looks. On top of that, I drew a pretty big drawing for my first attempt, which I always do, I'm not gonna lie. That's something that I always have to work on, and I've gotten way better with it over time, but because this is such a large drawing, it took me way longer than I would have expected, but I honestly like larger drawings in general too, so I'm not too mad about that. I figured with the way I drew it and everything and how large it is, that it was gonna take a while, so I wasn't going in expected for this to be like done in 30 minutes. I'm very realistic when it comes to stuff like this, so I knew it was gonna take a nice chunk of time, but I think that it's worth it. With something like this where you have to build it up and constantly go back and forth, I feel like it makes the drawing more precious in a way, right? Because now you're putting truly all of yourself into something like this, and I definitely felt that as I was drawing it. Now, for a first official attempt at a color pencil drawing, I think I did pretty well. And I say pretty well only for the sole fact that I thought it was going to come out way worse because I'm the one doing it. And sometimes when it comes to a new medium, I'm not very confident, but I was just really excited to use them. And I think my excitement helped me actually do better with using them, if that makes any sense. I hope it does. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. But usually I see like these crazy like color pencil illustrations online, and they're like extremely well done and highly detailed and all this stuff, and the way my brain works is I wonder if I'm ever going to get to that point. Realistically, I don't know. And it's because those people put hours upon hours and hours into colored pencil illustrations and have practiced so much, and their craft is amazing and it's beautiful. And I'm not there yet. I'm just going to be completely frank. I am definitely not there yet. In fact, when I was doing this, at first I was like, is this going to look weird in my style? Because for some reason I felt like the way colored pencils are, would it look weird from the way that I draw? Like, would it just not match? How would it go together? Sometimes when you do a new medium, your art style kind of changes with that medium to kind of compensate for what you're using. And I know that sounds strange, but I feel like it's definitely true. Like, when I paint, my art does look different than when I use marker, or when I do pencil, like straight up graphite. I feel like it looks completely different as well. I think depending on the medium, everything always looks different from how you draw it, but you still have the essence of your art style. It's just going to look a little different because you're using a different medium. This, for example, looks significantly softer than my usual marker art, and that is just because the way color pencils are kind of made. They're meant to be softer and have texture and look more almost like realistic on the paper, so it makes sense that it would look like that. But regardless, I think it looks good and I'm pretty proud of it, and the white gel pen on top truly just makes it look so juicy, especially her lips. Her lips are my favorite part, 100% they are. I love drawing lips. The only thing that I did make sure to do was I realized when I was filming and kind of taking pictures of the drawing that the light was kind of glaring on some parts, so it kind of looks a little strange. So what I did was I took pictures of this drawing without my studio lights, which is like this drawing right here, so you could see how soft her face really does look, and I absolutely love it. She's so cute. But yeah, tell me what you think. Do you think I successfully used these color pencils? And maybe give me some pointers if you have any. So yeah, thanks for watching, and remember, I love you. Bye!